Okay, so we're gonna start with a like quite fun question, I think. So I decided to start like this because well, the other day I was on Instagram and I was watching the comments on under a video of a transgender activist that was talking about transgender people in sports, which I think you all know it's a big discourse, and like there are many, it's a big debate, let's say this. And I was quite stunned by the fact that a woman that was interacting with this activist was very had a lot of difficulties in realizing that the concept of sex is also a cultural concept. It's not a like fairly natural and like normal concept, that it's very objective. It's a cultural concept, and many times in the transgender discourses we divide sex and gender, and it's very easy to say, okay, gender is cultural, whereas sex is very, it's natural. But it's not true. Both of them are cultural, and there are choices behind both of the concepts. So what I wanted to do today was address our idea of naturality, normality, and what it means to use a queer lens to address human role in nature, in the ecosystem. And how this lens could reshape societies in a more sustainable and equal way, let's say. So I'm gonna ask you this question. What do you think that plants and transgender people have in common? You can answer, like you have 3 answers maximum, but you can answer whatever comes to your mind, and then we're gonna try to answer this. Okay, so, okay, adaptation, mutation during life, great variety, alive, let's hope so. Roots, fluidity, diversity. Okay. Okay, so I'm very happy that you had a lot of ideas. If you're okay, okay. Ooh, it's still growing. Okay, so growth, network, fluidity, roots, threatened by man. Yes, very accurate. I think someone is already seeing where we're gonna go with this speech. Mutation during life, being a natural thing. Okay, okay. The answers I proposed are: we want to destroy the system. Cishet men are very scared of us, and we converse through secret channels whose existence was not known until recently. And why did I give these answers? I'm going to show you this brief reel to motivate it. In this presentation, the YouTuber is saying basically that there are many features to plants and the natural worlds that we don't know about, and there are like communication, interspecific communication tools that we were not aware of, and they're much more complex than we expected in the past. And this is, as you said before, and I think it's still here. Yes, as you said before in your what do plants and transgender people have in common? It's very true what you said. So diversity, adaptation, growth, being threatened by man, but also being a threat to the concept of men as a more natural and powerful and elevated form of life. So it's very interesting that there are these many intersections between queer/trans people and the plants, natural world, the environment that we have around ourselves. So this is a quite fun video. So if you want to watch it later with the audio, it's very nice, but I think you grasp the concept. And so trans-ecology, a child of ecofeminism. Before we speak about trans-ecology, perfect, nice. We're gonna have to speak about ecofeminism. So ecofeminism, how many of you know, just to see like if you're familiar with the concept, how familiar you're with the concept. So since you're so familiar with the concept, do you maybe want to share, some of you, if you're not too, I don't know, shy or anything. Okay, done with the patriarchy. but also done with capitalism. Okay. So, what's ecofeminism? Ecofeminism is a movement that aims to investigate the connections that exist between patriarchal and speciesist oppression. It was born in the 60s, but named ecofeminism specifically in 74 by François Dubon, I think. I pronounced it correctly. And the classic authors are Vandana Shiva, Maria Mies, Greta Gard, etc., etc. So I just gave like two brief points on ecofeminism. Basically, what ecofeminism says is the oppression that we see, like from men to women, is the same oppression that humans are doing to Mother Earth, let's say. So the idea, the concept back then was that. Okay, before we go to the second part, I'm gonna tell you that in this part, content warning, there's gonna be mention of murder, death in general, and just mention as concepts. I'm not gonna go deep in that. As you can see, to go a little bit further on the concept of ecofeminism, I put in a small quote from Rosemary Redford Ruther, and I didn't choose this specific author just because her name is the same as mine, but I was very happy about it. And it is if dominating and destructive relations to the earth are interrelated with gender, class, and racial domination, then a healed relation to the earth cannot come about simply through technological fixes. And why did I choose this specific quote? When I took part to CSW 66 last year online, I found this presentation from this researcher that's called Vidar Wetterfalk and is from Sweden. Very interesting about this concept. So, of course, CSW is a UN conference, just like the Conference of the Parties, that's aimed to, finding solutions to climate change. CSW focuses mainly on the interrelations between climate change and gender inequality. And what he was saying is very interesting to me in this presentation, and it is that when we're talking about sustainable development, many times we're not talking about shaping future systems that are ecological, but we're just greenwashing the ecological system. That's why I said with a queer lens, we can reshape our systems and we can relocate humans, because this is what we need to create very sustainable and like imaginative and fair futures. As he said, fostering change requires recognizing that we are not separated from the ecosystem, we are part of it. Whereas in our society, we are like, our society is shaped as a pyramid, and we see the white, cis, hetero, able-bodied, etc., men on top, and then all the categories are falling down in a scale of like monsterification in a way. What we need is to reshape this kind of system in a more circular and fair way. This is where I mention murder, just very briefly, because I wanted to give a little insight for the Italian people that are here and also non-Italian. I'm going to explain. So this meme was very interesting to me when I saw it, because it was like, in Italy, we have had this, in Italy, mostly in my region, which is Trentino Alto Adige, very northern eastern region. We had this issue with bears. So bears were reintroduced in my region about, I believe, like 15 years ago with a European project to reintroduce bears in their natural environment, where they had been killed and like massively killed, and basically they had gone extinct from their Trentino habitat. And so in, I think, 2005, they did this project to reintroduce bear. And of course, bears started multiplying and reproducing. And now the cohabitation with humans is a bit problematic, because many people that live in villages that are in the mountains or close to the forest don't want to adapt that much. They say they're adapting very much to the new population of bears, but actually the concept, and today there was a manifestation about anti-bear manifestation that said, this is our forest, we are destined to protect this beauty, basically the mountains and the forest. So the concept of the super anthropocentric protection of the environment that doesn't involve animals. Animals are just to be taken away. And this meme says, so what happened is that a bear killed a man in the forest recently, like 2 weeks ago, and the politicians of my regions were like, we're gonna kill the bear straight away. And everyone was like, why should you kill a bear for such an act? Because it was it's what happens when two different species live together and one species doesn't respect the rules that have to be respected when, for example, running in the forest alone. And this meme says, if a dead bear doesn't kill, a dead man doesn't think about it. And it was interesting to me to include, just to show how hardly we are involved in an anthropocentric way of viewing things, that we don't even see the parallels between, for example, when they say to for example, women, when you're going around by yourself at night, don't use headphones, do this and do that to try and be safer. And if you, for example, it's going to be your fault, because as for the bear, the one that doesn't get the fault the vast majority of times is the white, cis, hetero, male, etc., etc. And we're so involved in this kind of thinking that when it comes to another species being in danger, we just give reason, and we just say, okay, like humans are right because humans have more rights of living in this planet undisturbed than the other species. Why? I don't know. But that was just a little bit to give an example of what's happening right now in Italy, for example. So what ecofeminism is trying to do, and mostly trans-ecology, because as I said before, ecofeminism at the beginning was very also spiritualistic and very involved in the concept of Mother Earth, still very binary as a view. But what it's trying to do is proposing radical intersectional challenge to racism, classism, imperialism, heterosexism, ageism, ableism, it's not my mother tongue, I'm so sorry, anthropocentrism and speciesism, all together to shape more fair, equal, and just futures for everybody, every species. So trans-ecology, as I said before, is a child of ecofeminism, and it's very interesting to see the points of view that are brought to the table by queer researchers, such as, for example, Preciado, which who I took as example here, because as I said before, bone certification is one of the main processes that this society, the heteropatriarchal society, uses to oppress the other. And the other might be a bear, the other might be a trans person, the other might be anything that is farther away from the white, cis, hetero male on top of the pyramid. In trans research and trans publications, many times we see the concept of monsters, such as, for example, in Preciado, as being reappropriated and used to say we need another epistemology, for example, of sex and gender, to avoid reducing people and their bodies to just their reproductive system and how they can be used by the heteropatriarchal colonial neoliberal system, and express and describe what are the actual experiences that humans live throughout their life, and also that can be expansive towards nature, for example. So I think this is a very interesting point of view to understand how humanity could reshape the idea of ourselves and our location in the nature by seeing us as more complex being than what we think, as less like excluding the idea that we need to be tamed into categories that are not describing our experience, that are oppressing us, and they're very violent towards us, recognizing that we're part of the nature and we're complex as the nature is. So trans people are also reappropriating this monstrosity by using natural metaphors to imagine a new epistemology of sex and gender and new ways of living for the future. And now I'm going to ask you, which metaphor can you think of? Which kind of natural metaphor can you think of that is part of the trans community, for example? Can be an animal, can be a concept, can be a plant, or another species that it used to express multiformity and complexity. I don't know, can you think of something? Cyborg, for instance, yeah. Plastic eating bacteria, very nice. Okay, mushrooms, transaction. Agender's nails. Okay. Seahorse dads. Oh my god. Moss frogs. Yes, frogs. Nightmare. Very nice. Alien species too, yeah. Which I think you're gonna talk about it with Newt later, maybe. Bacteria, yes. As you said, like for example, mushrooms are a very, very common metaphor that is used. I'm very thrilled about some things that you wrote because they didn't even come to my mind. But what I put here are mycelial networks and compost. Compost is one of the authors that I think I put her in the bibliography too. It's in Italian, the book, unfortunately, but like for Italian speaking people, it's going to be comprehensible. For non-Italian speaking people, I put other authors or like books, websites that this specific author used to write the book, which is Antonia Anna Ferrante. And Antonia Anna Ferrante writes about compost as a metaphor for not only society, but species themselves. So, for example, what is in her book is like she says, "I'm not posthumanist, I'm compostist." That it's a quote, I think, from Donna Haraway, if I'm not wrong. But what it means is that many times when we think about futures in which we relocate humans, we tend to think about post-human, so something that we are not now, something that we will become, something that is in development. But actually, from a compostist point of view, we can understand, and a queer or trans lens is very useful for this thought. We can understand that we already have the possibility to be more complex, that we give ourselves the possibility to be, and the possibility in terms of imagination, cultural categories, legal possibility to be. and that we can radically understand how we are all intertwined in terms of species, in terms of ecosystem, how every little change in one specific species, in one specific environment is going to affect us. And even if we think of ourselves as the top of the pyramid, and it's a very hard concept to grasp that we're not anywhere around any pyramid, everything is super complicated, but it's so hard to grasp if you grew up in an occidental white society, because I mean it's just the basics of our identities many times. But we already have the possibility to be that kind of human that's beyond this idea of human. And trans people, for example, show us every day, like we show people every day how we are broader than what they give us credit for. And the compost is another beautiful metaphor. And of course, mycelia networks, I think many of you know them. It's these networks that are created by mushrooms that allow many species to communicate one with the other through symbiosis. And so it's a mutual relationship that is beneficial for both species, and that allows many species to communicate underground. That was what the first video was mentioning too. And this is a very beautiful concept also to reimaging, for example, communities and families beyond the idea of blood and genetics and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to, I'm very sorry that you cannot hear the audio, because it's going to be completely useless. I'm sorry for me to show this video now. If I don't know if there are the subtitles, but we're going to check now, and I'm going to give you the link as before. Also, I'm going to give you the link of the whole project. It is in the bibliography, and it's a beautiful project. It's the Quinta project, I think it's pronounced. It's a queer eco-village in Portugal that I found randomly on the internet, because that's how you find things these days. And it has a local identity, so that the physical eco-village, but also an online identity that's very nice, because it allows people from anywhere to access their worships, their concepts, and they are very, very, very clever, and they use the concept that we spoke about before to put in practice new ways of living today. I mean, it's not something of the future. So what this person says is that this project is not a project that is doing eco and queer in a separated way, but it's trying to join the two concepts together and basically shaping and putting into real practice what we said before. And it's a very interesting speech. I think the whole video is very interesting. I had selected these 2 minutes just because we didn't have enough time to watch a 31 minutes video, but they have many videos on their YouTube page, and their project page is also very interesting, and I'm going to give you the link in a second. Yeah, basically he says that both queer activism and climate justice activism have tackled the same kind of problems, and these are the problems that we have seen before with the heteropatriarchal colonial society. And so this project I wanted to share with you because it's very interesting, and it's showing that we have possibilities to do to live differently, and there already are projects that are doing it, and I'm gonna give you the link. I'm very sorry for the audio, but it's okay. So to close, I wanted to give you a small exercise, and it is write a detail that you imagine being part of a future eco-queer, anti-speciesist world. For example, having a parental bonus when getting a cat. So if you want to write something just to close on a positive and imaginative note, and then we can finish our speech with some questions. Okay. So subsidies for caring about land and ecosystem, funding for utopian communes, yes. communal GMO gardens, genetic engineering for the people, not needing a parental bonus, bonus for not breeding more humans, very nice, living in a sanctuary with other queer people and taking care of animals together, living in a sanctuary and taking care of the animals with other queer people, yes, subsidies for taking care and living on the land that needs rewilding, reforestation around cities. Okay. So as you see, if the United Nations called us right now, we will solve climate change in a second, and I'm very happy about it. Very sorry I couldn't see the chat, but 7:13 is minute 7:13, second 13. It was a brief part that was very interesting of that video. But as I said before, you can watch it all and it's very interesting. They have like 5 or 6 videos in their YouTube channel. And the page of the website of the project itself is in the bibliography that I shared at the beginning of the presentation, but I'm gonna reshare it. So I'm sure that everybody has it. So these 2 links, one is my business card. So you find my contacts if you wanna ask something or whatever. And the second one is the bibliography if you wanna go deeper in what we talked about today. So thank you very much for the attention. I'm very sorry for the audio issue. And if you have any question or anything to share, feel free to do it, or we're gonna go and have a little pause.
Okay, thank you so much. We might still have time for sharing ideas, then we're going to have a pause, and then we're going on. Maybe if anyone has any idea, please, if you want to break the ice. I do have some ideas, but I don't want to be the first one to speak. Unless.
Hi. I just wanted to make a note about the last exercise that we all did. Someone mentioned something about like encouraging people not to breed, and I just wanted to know that that's like kind of a funny comment. Overpopulation is a myth. The problem is redistribution of resources. And especially since we are in a space that's talking about trans rights, there is a huge issue in many countries where to have your gender recognized, you're forced to be sterilized, for example, as well as there's been recent news of asylum seeker women being found to be given birth control without their consent. So the matter of not reproducing is a very complex one that isn't really helping our future, if that makes sense. Obviously, I understand that was just kind of a joke, and I'm not accusing anyone. It's just to think more carefully about that kind of talking point.
Thank you, Mars. Right? Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. I think I'm sorry that I also laughed when I read it, but it's because I mean it was, you know, but I completely agree with your point, and it's a very complicated matter. And I think, I mean, from my direct experience as a Gen Zer, it's a very popular topic to bring up with your friends and say, no, we're never going to have children. It's very, the world is too crowded. And then you go deeper in that and you find out that it's not actually like too crowded, but it's a problem of, as you said, redistribution. And it's very interesting, I think. Thank you very much. I think maybe we could do another workshop on that. It would be amazing.